So this is gonna be quite the video. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna have to make this video in like one loop. Like I cannot edit out anything because this is my third time filming this video and I could not figure out like how to edit it on my computer. Charlie! So I've tried everything and it's just not working out. So I'm just gonna film it right now. No editing, what you see is what you get. But today I will be filming my January wrap up. Yes, we're like 3 weeks into February, but like I've said, like my first time I filmed this was February 2nd. And you know, I thought I was gonna be on time, but technology said otherwise. So we're here, we're gonna be casual today. I'll just be talking about the 6 books that I read in January. It's also raining really hard out and I took this dog on a walk, so he's a little wet. Oh my god, Levi! Y'all need to chill. So I just really wanted to show you guys these books that I read. I'm sorry it's way past due, but we'll get started. The first book that I read in January was All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is historical fiction. This is based in Paris during World War II, and it has kind of that dual perspective that I love. So we follow one character's story who is a blind French girl living in Paris during the war, and then the other perspective is this orphan German boy who becomes a German soldier. So we follow their childhoods, kind of growing up, and then the war happens, and then you see how they're connected in the end. They obviously have very different upbringings, but I gave this book 5 out of 5. I also got a Goodreads account for 2020. So I rated this one 5 stars and quickly added it to my all-time favorite books list. I knew I would love it. It just combines all my favorite things. But what I really loved about it was the settings and the way that they were described, and like the beach and just the streets of Paris, and then how it was so war-torn. And it's really one of those books that like transports you to the time and place, which I don't know about you, but that's like why I read books, is to be transported to a place totally different from your life today. And that's exactly what it did. And like the way that all the characters are connected, it's just so creative and so beautiful, and I would highly recommend this book if you have not read it yet. I'm sure maybe you have. I know it was really popular a few years ago. I'm so glad I picked this up and read it. It made me cry. It was a beautiful, beautiful read. Great way to start out 2020. So the second book I read in January was Persepolis, The Story of a Childhood by Marjane Satrapi. So this is the second graphic novel that I've ever read, and so she writes about her own life, her childhood growing up in Iran during their revolution in 1979 and 1980, and it's really sad. And what really like intrigues me is why like some authors choose to write as a graphic novel. Like what does it add, you know? But to me, like, this was so clear with this novel, like showing the facial expressions and like the different emotions, because it is such a sad story about such a sad time. I think made it like so much more powerful. Sobbed my eyes out with this book as well. And I think it was like such a good timing to read this, because with everything going on in Iran right now, it's kind of like dehumanizing, and you don't think about like the everyday family that lives there and how much all of this is affecting them. And this was such a good way of like showing you like, hey, normal people like you and I are having to go through these horrible things like in their own country. And I think it was such an important read. I sat down and read it like in one sitting. It's really short, but it's really, really powerful. And she does have a second novel that kind of follows her adulthood as she moves to America. So definitely gonna read that. But I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Again, really highly recommend. The third book, I got a cough, hold on. Can't edit that out. Oh man, Charlie. These dogs, y'all, they're so gross. Okay, so the third book I read was Topics of Conversation by Miranda. I got this as my book of the month book. I was really excited about it. It's her debut novel. I thought, that's great. I love giving new authors a chance. I cannot with these dogs right now. Charlie, come here. Come on. Y'all need to clean up. What is this video? I'm so sorry. Okay, so I really disliked this book. I thought about doing like a full review just on this book, but it would be so negative, and I hate being negative about books because I know how hard authors work on them and how much time and effort goes into them. But I extremely disliked this book, and I thought I was alone, and so I looked up other reviews on it, and other people felt the same. So anyways, I'll talk about what it's about. So we are following this narrator, this unknown narrator. We don't really know anything about her, which is really annoying. And it goes into different conversations that she's had throughout her life. It kind of skips from one story to the next, talking to a completely different person, and just talks about that conversation. So what's really annoying is with most of the little stories, we don't get quotation marks, we don't get different paragraphs, we don't get names. It's so confusing. There's so many run-on sentences. I was going insane. I almost didn't finish this book, which would be the first time I've ever done that, but it was so tempting because I found myself just like not caring anymore. I just didn't care what was being said. And that's so sad. And I'm really sorry. I don't like being mean, but it was so frustrating. And I read a review that was saying that like Miranda was trying too hard, and you kept like hearing her voice as the narrators, and it was just really weird. But like all the conversations are trying to be, really sensual and like provocative, and I just thought it was trying way too hard, and it just wasn't interesting to me. So I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. I should have given it 1, but I didn't want to be that mean. So really do not recommend this. Honestly, probably one of my least favorite books I've ever read. So that's topics of conversation. I'm really sorry. But then we picked it right back up with the 4th book that I read in January, and that was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Oh my god. I absolutely loved this book. This is, I think, my 5th John Green book. And honestly, I haven't read him in years, like since high school, and I thought that I was too old for his books now. As a 24-year-old woman, I was like, I feel like I can't connect with that anymore because it is such like a teenager type of book and type of author. So I picked this up. It was new like a couple years ago, so oh my god. So I think it's my favorite John Green book. I gave it 5 stars. So it follows this main character, Asa, and there's kind of that like surface level plot, but there's also like the very meaningful, deep message going on throughout the novel. So like the more surface level is Asa and her group of friends. She's a sophomore in high school. This billionaire goes missing, and so her and her friends are trying to find where he is to get some reward money. And so that's kind of the story that you're following. But really the book is about Asa's mental health and all of her mental illnesses that she's dealing with. Mainly being like anxiety and OCD. And I think John Green like struggles with that, and it was so apparent. Mainly the story is looking at her inner thoughts and like an inner monologue just of Asa's thoughts. And just the way that John Green wrote and how her thoughts are so real. I know I've struggled with anxiety. I think all of us do nowadays, but the things that he was writing were literally my thoughts sometimes. Like, why am I thinking these things? I'm crazy. I'm the only one thinking these things. And it just made you feel like not alone. Sorry, this is getting deep, but it was, oh my god, it like hurts my heart how much I loved it. And at the end, like her illnesses aren't cured. Like there's not really a happy ending regarding her like mental health, which I think is so important because honestly it is like a lifelong thing. And this book was just so real and so comforting. And if you're like going through stuff like that, I highly recommend it. I know it might be a little bit triggering, so just be careful, but I wish that I would have read this, when I was 16. I think it would have been so helpful to know that these are normal thoughts. As a teen, life is confusing, but oh my god, I cannot recommend this book enough. 5 stars, all-time favorite books list, absolutely incredible. John Green, you did it again. Amazing. The 4th book, I'm also sick. This video is such a mess. So the 5th book that I read in January was In the Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Whaleship Essex by Nathaniel Philbrick. So glad I finally read this. It's been on my TBR for so long because the story just really interested me. So this does follow all of the sailors that were aboard this whaleship. And of course, when it was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it was sunk by a huge whale and they were stranded at sea for a while. And of course, that story inspired Moby Dick. So this book also, I think Nathaniel did an absolutely incredible job with gathering all this information. Like, he talked about all the different books and just pieces of writing that he went through to combine and put in this novel. And he goes all the way into like the history of whaling and why people whaled, to get their blubber for oil, which I think is really interesting. I know that like history stuff may be boring, but it goes into like how they caught whales, because can you imagine? Just incredible. Like getting into these little boats and like poking the whale and like, oh my god, just amazing. It was such a fun read at the same time. Really tragic that this actually happened. And yeah, it goes into kind of each main character's background, and yeah, it talks about them lost at sea for a really long time too. So if you like survival stories, really recommend. I love a good survival story. They were at sea for like 94 days. Oh my god, I just can't even imagine. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was so well done. It was like exactly what I thought it would be. If you want a good adventure read, a good piece of history to know about, I would highly recommend In the Heart of the Sea. And I really want to see the movie too. I think that looks really good. So we've come to the last book that I read in January, which was Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is a sci-fi novel, second one I've ever read. I got this book for free through Book of the Month, so I was like, why not? I knew it wasn't my thing, but I really wanted to give it a chance because I know like a lot of people love it. I think I gave this one 3 stars, and I'll tell you why. Sci-fi is not my thing. If you like sci-fi, you love this, and I get it, and I know why. This deals mainly with like memory, different timelines, time traveling, alternate universes, like crazy stuff, right? That like I'm not used to reading. I don't think about that kind of stuff on a daily basis at all. Too much of like a realist, like I like real stories. And the first half really got me, like I was really into it the first half. The concepts were amazing. I thought I was so intrigued. There were times where like I couldn't put it down. But then we neared the end, and my anxiety, I don't pick up a book and read it and like want my heart to race and to feel really anxious. Like I like to relax and just have a nice read. And this like kept me on the edge of my seat. So if you like that kind of stuff, then definitely pick it up. But like for me, it just was too much. I could not. It was the end. I just like literally had whiplash. I was like, what is happening? I followed along, but I did have to reread sometimes, like a few pages, and be like, what's happening? Because a lot is happening at all times. Like you have to be on your toes. You have to be really paying attention. But for what it is, I think it's really good. It's just not my cup of tea. Just not my thing. But I'm really glad that I read it because like I get why people are obsessed with it. It's just, yeah, I couldn't catch my breath. It was too much. But I feel like if you like action movies and stuff, you'll really like it. But just not my thing. Recursion, last book of January 2020. Finally, hopefully I get this video up. If this video is up and you're watching it, amazing. I'm so proud of myself. It's already been 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. This is really long. But hopefully I can figure out editing. If not, my videos from now on are just going to be one straight shoot and hope that I don't mess up too much. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I know I haven't posted in a while. I'm really sorry. I'll get better. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.